about now? I see the thing going up now. Can folks hear me? All right. Let me double check here. All right. Hey, thanks, Xander. Cool. Really excited to get started today. Joined a little bit early, just want to make sure everything's set up correctly. Really excited to show off some of our data connectors today. This is a special webinar, outside of our normally scheduled broadcasting here at Julius headquarters in San Francisco. We're going to be talking through some of the data connectors that we have available, specifically some of our most popular ones like Google Drive, OneDrive, and SharePoint. And then we'll go into some of the more complex ones like Postgres, and we'll show you the setup from start to finish, and then also show you our Google Ads and how all of this works first getting started. What is a data connector? How do we actually use them and get started using Julius? And some of the other cool features that the team has built behind the scenes to help make all of these things plug in together, keep this context over time, and learn from the work that you're doing to help reduce any of the frictions, make it so much easier just to work within Julius. That being said, we'll give it a few more minutes for folks to join. Like always, you guys can see any of the previously recorded webinars. We do one every week, and we switch between topics every other week here. We do one on onboarding, so just like really basics, how to get started using Julius. And the other one that we typically do is a notebooks deep dive, where we talk about the notebooks feature, how that works from start to finish, and all the different cells. You can look into our YouTube channel. In the live section, you'll see all the different videos that we've put together, all the previous webinars, and then also all the upcoming webinars too. If you're joining us, you likely saw us on Luma. You could also subscribe there. It has all of our latest and greatest when it comes to these new webinars that we're doing. And then as always, you guys let us know any feedback that you have. If there's any topics that we don't cover in these webinars or something that you're looking forward to learning, whether it's a specific part of Julius, maybe what is Julius, or even if there's a topic that, like a use case or something that you do in your work and you want to see how you could use Julius to help empower the work that you're doing, whether it's marketing, research, something in finance, something in business operations. The world's our oyster here for all the things that we can cover. That being said, we'll turn the music on just a little bit for now, and I'll just double check my setup here, and we'll get started shortly. Cool. I'm going to double check my Windows here and then update this one here. This one's not connected to the right guy. This one I will change here. This one. There we go. Perfect. Where are folks tuning in from today? I see some folks in the chat. I see 28 viewers so far. I'm here at the Julius headquarters here in San Francisco, where it is 1 o'clock PDT. We're in Pacific Daylight Time, and 31st of July. I can't believe this year is flying by so fast. Already the last day before August. This is pretty cool. Maybe some of you guys tuning in are from the future already in the first day of August. Toronto, right on. Yeah, no, it's nice today. I always love doing these webinars. It's always cool just to interact with folks around the globe. Whether you're using Julius or whether you're first getting started using Julius or have never even heard of Julius, I've heard from some folks that they've tuned in just from seeing us live on YouTube, and they're just like, oh, I just stumbled upon you guys. What is Julius? Oh wow, so we do have some folks in the future here. Yeah, Tucson, nice. Brazil, awesome. Fortaleza, and then also Singapore. Wow, awesome. Washington D.C. All right, nice. We're so cool. It's super thankful again. Like we're celebrating a couple of milestones. In case you follow our socials here at Julius, we just raised our 10 million seed, and then we also released data connectors. And 2 weeks ago was Julius's birthday. We have over 2 million users around the world, and it's just sort of, you have to be really thankful and grateful for all of our support around the world. It's really cool. Villages in Florida, Ireland, and Guanajuato, Mexico. Wow, that's awesome. Awesome. Let's go ahead and get started. I think there's a lot to cover today. Like always, I'll try to go step by step through a lot of this stuff, but we are recording this so we can share afterwards. And we'll go and just get started and dive right in. So data connectors, what is a data connector, right? Whether or not you're familiar with Julius, when you get started using Julius, you have to upload files manually, which typically requires having a file to begin with in the first place. A lot of times you're getting these files from, it could be your Google Drive, it could be from your data warehouse, somewhere that you're storing data and need to pull it. It could be from even a tool that you use, whether you're using like HubSpot or Intercom or anything that has some sort of metrics or some sort of data that you can pull. You export it, and typically our users will upload it back into Julius for us to interact with, right? Quite a lot of steps in between there. You can imagine like any sort of tool that you're using when you need to download and re-upload files, it creates a little bit of friction too. That's why we've been really heads down here working on data connectors. Really am excited to show you guys this today. It helps reduce a lot of that friction from getting started. Just helping bridge that gap between your data and Julius and just putting them all into one spot where it's a lot easier for you to analyze without needing to jump back and forth between tools or deal with that whole, downloading data and putting it back into Julius to begin with, right? That's the first part. The other part that we'll talk about more is how Julius actually uses this data as you're analyzing it, right? A lot of this context that you have, whether it's how to query your tables, right? If you're using a data warehouse like Postgres, or if you're analyzing Google Ads data, there's a lot of stuff that you keep in the back of your mind or written down in a doc somewhere about, hey, this is what this column is for, this is how I should join it to this table, right? Or this is what this Google Ads analytics and campaign is. I have to remember how to query it, and I'll do it in either Google Sheet or somewhere, or use the Google Ads Manager, right? All these tools are pretty separated, and here at Julius, we use all of these tools ourselves, and we kind of built for ourselves and a lot of the users that we've been speaking with, right? So how do we get all of that data from one spot, whether it's in the cloud, if it's in your Postgres DB, if it's in your Google Ads, how do we get all of that into Julius so we could just have one spot where we're just querying this data ourselves, right? So that's the TLDR on data connectors, and we'll get started with the most basic data connector, and actually the most popular data connector that we have right now, which is our Google Drive connector, right? I'm here on my just a regular Julius account here on a Teams plan. This works for everybody, regardless of what type of plan that you're on. In order to navigate to your data connectors page, two different places you can go. Right here in the nav bar underneath your notebooks and files you can go to. The other place that you can go is into the accounts and billing, and you'll see the data connectors tab here. So two easy ways for you to find this. The other third way I didn't mention is when you first create an account, you'll see a pop-up here or a little modal that says, hey, connect to your data. You'll see the Google Drive logo. You can also click on that too. But in this case, I'm just going to click on data connectors. And we'll start off with the very first one. We'll just do Google Drive. You can connect to this. I have my Google Drive set up, so I'm just going to authorize the account here, just like you're logging into any other app. You can specify what sort of permissions you want to give Julius, and then you press continue, and that's it. So really easy to get started on the Google Drive one. Everyone, a good chunk of people have Google Drives, whether they're using it for both work or for personal use. We use Google Drive here ourselves. And that probably explains why it's so easy and why it's the most popular data connector that we have, right? Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's really basic. I think it's actually, it really helps with the functionality when you're especially using Julius, right? So going to downloading data, I'm going to actually press the plus button, and I'm going to click on Google Drive here. And then you'll be able to see all the different files, whether it's in your personal workspace on Google Drive, or if you're sharing a drive with your teammates, you'll also see some of the shared folders here too as well. It all depends on your organization settings on how the visibility works. But just like any other sort of tool that lets you integrate with Google Drive, now you can simply select the files that you want to include in Julius, press select, and just like that, it downloads them directly from Drive and incorporates them right into Julius. I'll actually load and preview this so I can show off the other part to this. And it's similar to as if you were just uploading these yourself. So now these files are accessible in Julius, and then now we have Julius writing the Python code to execute and run and fulfill my prompt, right? The other really cool thing about the Drive connector, right, is your ability to take the outputs or whatever Julius is working with and put it directly back into Drive, right? So let's do a really brief analysis. Let's just say, let's do sales trends over time here by using the generated suggested prompt here. We'll use this. It's going to analyze the files that I had added using the Google Drive connector. And then when you start to see some of these outputs too, especially if it's a data frame or a table, you'll see this new button here, Export to Sheets. All you have to do is click it. And then sometimes what happens is you might, if it's your first time ever using the Google Sheet, you might get blocked by a pop-up blocker. You know, it's one of the typical things for Chrome to do. But once it's done exporting, you can simply click it and then take you right to a Google Sheet. So here we see it. You see the pop-up blocked, but here we just simply click the link. And that's all the data right here. Right. I myself use this a ton. I had to sort of break out of the muscle memory of downloading the files and re-uploading them manually into Sheets. It takes some getting used to. I'm so used to just using like file, import, and then upload, right? There's only one button you have to press now, and it's just export to Sheets. And it's super, super useful, especially if you want to just bookmark some data, take a quick look at it in some tool that's a little bit more for exploring the actual like cells and rows, right? You'll have all the same features you have in Google Sheets with the data that you have in Julius. The other really cool thing, make any updates here, make any adjustments, go back to your, go back to Julius, Google Drive, and you could add that same exact file here, right? So again, it's super simple, super straightforward, our most popular data connector too. Now you might be wondering, what if I don't use Google Drive? You know, I think the world is split right now in between Google Drive and OneDrive. Don't worry, we actually support both. I'm going to go back to our Data Connectors tab. And you'll see both here. You'll have OneDrive that you can also connect to, which I'll show. And if you're doing work through OneDrive through your organization or through your university and you're using SharePoint, for example, we support that too. And you'll see both of those as well. So I just connected to my personal OneDrive. I'm going to go ahead and click on here. And then you'll see all the different files that are available for me to include into Julius just the same way as Google Drive. And I'll show off the school and work OneDrive as well. And then likewise, you can select as many files as you want, select them, and then same exact thing. All of those are accessible in Julius. Two of the most common and most widely used. Again, if you don't see the connectors, if it's not in one of the ones that we're talking about today, all you can do is just go to the Data Connectors page and then click Request a Connector. The team is really pushing on new connectors every single week. And we use the feedback we get from this type form that you guys can fill out. If there's one that you guys use at your university or your business, if there's a specific place where you guys are housing your data, or if there's something that would be really nice to have. You know, we have a lot of hobbyists here who use things like Supabase or some of these tools like Lovable and Replit who have databases somewhere. We use all of the metrics from this form in order to sort of guide us on what we should be building next. So if you don't see one yet on the data connectors, feel free to add it here and request it, and then we'll prioritize it and roll it out. You know, the team really is moving very quickly here.
Your audio is echoing.
Is it?
Yeah, check the chat.
Oh, audio is echoing.
Yeah, double mute one of those audio inputs.
Oh, okay, let me see here. Oh, I see it right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, hearing an echo. Okay, there we go.
Chat, as the chat.
All right. Hopefully that was audible for that one chunk. Is any part of that I should recover? That's one of the downsides of having 300 tabs open is I don't really see the chat as I'm doing this. That was our teammate Joe. So Joe, if you guys don't know, one of the infra engineers here who's really working on all the MCPs and things too. Something that we'll also demo in another webinar. Okay, all good, all good. So TLDR, in case there was some echo, try out your Google Drive or OneDrive, wherever you guys do have your data stored. Really basic place for you to go ahead and just get started and take some of the data there. All right, let me get back on track here. So I'm actually going to switch over. So that's the really basic one, Google Drive, OneDrive. The other one I do want to test out is, let me share my other screen here. Go to Properties, and I will change us over to this tab. This one is, we're going to go over two different ones on this specific tab now. We're going to go over our Postgres connector, and then we'll also do a Google Ads connector. Those are two of the other most popular and more trendy ones too, outside of just the Google Drive and OneDrive. So what I'm going to do first is do our Postgres, right? You click on Connect here, all the different fields that you might be familiar with, or if you're not familiar with, you could hover over the eye icon, and this will give you the information about what you'll need to gather, or if you guys have an IT professional or a tech team, you guys could reach out to them and ask them to help you set this up. A little bit more involved than the Google Drive's connector. The first thing you need to do is name it. So in this case, use something descriptive, something that you'll remember. You could always change this later. Add in the user and password to access this, this connector in Postgres. So these are the credentials here. Here, I'm going to put in all of the other information that I have associated with this, the name of the database, and then if you guys do have MFA, which is a way that folks secure their databases, you could add that here or specify it. And here I'm just going to do none. We have a lot of documentation here before I press add connection. If you guys aren't sure about how to get started or maybe what some of these fields are, we go a little bit more in depth here on the read documentation page. And it'll take you to our documentation hub. I'll have to double check that link. Let's see here. I'll just click here on documentation. We'll double check that link after. And here's where you'll have all of the different tools, especially for our data connectors, which you can view here. And then you can click on Postgres, and then you can see all the different fields that we were just talking about too. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and click Add Connection. You'll see this little modal pop up. This will show the status as Julius tries to verify. There might be some errors you might run into. So we are working on improving all of the different error messaging that you'll see in that setup. Typically, the most common is if there's any credential errors or authorization errors. For example, if I didn't put in the right password, or if that account just doesn't have permissions to view that database, that'll show up there in that modal. Other times, if there's other errors, our team is constantly monitoring, and we actually track, that someone's running into a lot of errors. We'll reach out, or you can always reach out to us too to help debug. More than happy to hop on a call live. Sort of what inspired us having the session today to walk through data connectors in person. Right away, you'll see all the different schemas and tables that are available in this Postgres connector. This is going to vary based off of your own database, of course. And here I'm just going to click Try It Out. And that's going to add it. Again, we're going to connect to it, but it's going to add it as an option for us to connect to in Julius. Right? I have this open here in a thread. What I'm going to do is open up our sidebar just a little bit more. And then you'll actually see the data connector here, and you'll see us loading. And the really cool thing is if you guys use data querying tools like DataGrip or pgadmin, we've taken a lot of inspiration because we do use those tools ourselves here at Julius. And you can actually see all the different columns and tables that you have available. You can click, expand any one of these, and we'll actually preview some of the rows too within your database there. So really easy way for you just to get an overview of your data. If you, again, aren't familiar with the columns or all the tables that are in your data set, or if you just want a brief reminder on like, hey, this is what this column is, or this is the type of information that's typically here, right? The other really cool thing you could also do is just search, right? So if I had, like a user ID, or if I had a customer ID, you'll see all of this here, all the tables that have some sort of customer column within it, or some sort of customer data within it. So a really easy way for us to get started there. That's essentially just how to get started. I think that's sometimes the biggest learning curve is just how to get your data connected into there. Again, we're working on all of our documentation and videos to help guide folks through. But what does it actually mean to use, a data connector in Julius, right? Again, at the beginning of this webinar, I talked through, we had to take data that was stored somewhere. The old way was we would have to write a query. We would have to download and export the data, re-upload it back into Julius. If we ever wanted to refresh our insights, we would have to rerun that query, do the same process over again. So that's sort of what we've built around that problem to solve. What I'll do right now is I'll just do a really brief demo. We'll just say, show me the customers. Actually, we'll do like, show me sales by store. Store over time. Really basic query here in Julius. Just press enter. And what you'll see is something slightly different from your normal querying and running prompts in Julius. We're actually running a SQL query here that's querying our Postgres table directly, right? So again, I didn't have to write a single line of SQL. I learned how to write SQL maybe a few years ago. I don't really use it as much anymore. Julius will do it for me. And Julius will actually query and grab the data from Postgres, pull it into Julius for us to use, all without me needing to do that. So here we see the tables being run, and we're starting to grab data. And then Julius is actually searching for the relevant columns and the relevant tables. Again, I didn't really specify any of that on my own. That's twofold, right? I think one, if you do have a lot of context about your tables, you can give it to Julius. You could say, hey, I know where the customer data is stored. I know where the store's data is stored. I know how these things typically join together. Great, you can give Julius that context. I'll show you guys how to do that exactly. If you don't know, or if you're just unsure, or you're doing really exploratory data analysis or visualization inside of Julius, you don't need to know, right? And what Julius will do is it'll actually query across all of your tables, get context about all of the different columns, try to make sense of like, hey, this is typically where I'm seeing, customers data stored, or this is where I'm seeing transaction data stored, and it's going to build and retain that knowledge over time. And I'll walk through what that looks like behind the scenes. So again, I had a really broad query here. I just asked, again, what did I ask? What is the customer sales over time? Or show me sales by store over time. This is a brand new data connection for Julius. So it's exploring our columns and exploring our tables in Postgres right away. All right, so here we go. Julius has made sense of it all, and then now it's actually querying and connecting directly to our Postgres and starting to get all of those metrics and the sales over time too. One thing that I'll call out is you'll see looked at data tables. You could always open this and expand it, and you'll see some of this learned values and learned knowledge over time. This is one way that you can see Julius using it, and I'll show you what that actually means in a minute. And the other place that you can click on is over here in the upper right, and that'll show all the context that Julius has learned about my Postgres connection. Again, a lot of this stuff in context, usually like the analytics team or someone more technical really does understand, hey, these are the tables we commonly use. Maybe the column names aren't self-explanatory or aren't labeled or aren't, easy to understand just off of the names themselves. So what Julius is doing, again, scans and queries the whole entire database, tries to understand the formatting if you don't specify, and then we'll retain that knowledge over time. Now we've gathered the data, and here we're going to actually execute some Python code. And then now we'll see sales over time. All of that done without writing a single line of SQL, and without me even telling Julius the context behind the tables themselves. One thing to call out, so we'll take a look at the learned information. I think that's the part that is probably the coolest part to all of this. If you just click on that learned information button in the upper part of the Data Explorer, you'll actually see the learned information about my Postgres connection. And here you can see all of the different things that Julius has learned about the columns, the tables, and the schemas that it was looking at. It says that, hey, for the d.d date, this column stores the actual calendar date. Or s.store name, this actually shows the store's name in the store, right? You could always update this if any of these aren't correct, right? So for example, if I say like, actually this isn't where the store names are, you could say this actually shows something like store address. You could always address and update those. You could also refresh, or you could even add different properties too. If you know that there's context, like I join user IDs and this connects to ID in a different table, you could explain that here too, if you like. But again, not mandatory. Julius will do this on its own behind the scenes, right? So super valuable. Again, a lot of the times that we're talking with users around the world and we're trying to figure out like, hey, what is the pain when it comes to querying your Postgres databases? A lot of it is like, hey, a really small group of people really understand how the data is organized, and it gets really difficult to explain that to a tool like ChatGPT or even Julius previous to data connectors, right? It really just didn't have that context that the users had, and it was a lot of work to take that out of your head and stick it into Julius, right? The other thing that you could also do, whenever you're in the data connectors tab and you do have a connection, again, you could have multiple Postgres connections and all of our other connections here. You could actually edit these, and then you could update the custom instructions, and you could add in all of the different contexts that you might have if there's caveats to querying a certain way. And then you can also always, like we just showed, update the learned information there. We'll go back here. And then maybe we'll do another one. We'll just do like, can you find me a column in my Postgres connector that has user data? I'm going to open up the sidebar one more time over here on the right. And then you'll see Julius take a look. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to expand the data tables and show you. And then it says, I cannot find any columns that contain user data. The available tables are XYZ, and it's actually going to go and explore those two separately. So you can always take a look at how Julius is using that context that I was just showing. And like you'll see, like, hey, it knows how to join some of these tables together. This is how it does it in the backend. So here we go, customer demographics table. And then it says, the user is asking for an analysis of provided schema informations. And then now it's explaining, hey, these are some of the columns and how they link together. Again, the Julius team here uses this data connector every single day. I think we're starting to pull away from some of the analytics and built-in analytics tools that are outside of Julius, just because it's so much easier to keep this context over time and just without needing to download, export, write a query, then re-upload it into Julius, analyze it, and then take your insights out of there. It's just been so much more straightforward. Cool. The other really cool thing that you could also do in addition to all of this is if you are typing queries in here and you do know that, hey, I want to know at customer, you could do at symbol and you could see all of the different schemas and then also tables and any relevant columns too that you could add in, just like you're using any other querying tool. So go ahead and give it a try. For those of you that do have Postgres connectors, we do have a bunch more that are coming, right? We have, as you can see on our data connectors page, we do have Postgres, BigQuery, Supabase, Snowflakes, and MCPs. They all use the same sort of learned context over time, and they'll all look similar to this as well. I think Postgres is our most polished one so far because we've been using it the most, but the BigQuery and Snowflake ones will have a release and product release there too afterwards. Give us a try, give it a try, and give us any feedback. Again, you guys can reach out to us at team@julius.ai. Alternatively, you can click up here in the upper bar and you can click help, and that'll open up our intercom widget, which you could use to send us a message. Let us know how things are going. If you guys have any good feedback, bad feedback, we want to hear it all. And if you do have troubles, setting things up, we're more than happy to hop on a call and figuring it out with you guys. Postgres connector. Okay, so that was that one. The last one I do want to demo is our Google Ads connector. And I was informed by the team, by Xander in the chat actually, that the Google Ads connector is our second most popular one this week. So it is trending, if you will. And we actually, Xander and the team spent a whole weekend trying to figure this out. And we were able to roll it out really, really quickly. And again, we use Google Ads like a lot of other marketing teams out there. And once we built it, it just made so much more sense that, hey, why hasn't a team or any product done this where you could just analyze this marketing data seamlessly like this? So what I did is I clicked connect underneath the Google Ads integration. What this will do is it'll ask me which ads account I want to connect to. Here we have our Julius AI demo one. And then it's going to connect the ads account just like that. A few things you'll need are some permissions as well in order to connect. Just like any other Google authorization integration, you'll need to make sure that the account you're connecting with, in this case, my demo account, had permissions to the Google Ads account. Any organization administrator can do this on your Google marketing side, or you could also just double check the settings and access controls too. So I just connected there. I'm going to go back to a thread, and we're going to click on the plus button, and we'll see the Google Ads icon here. Click it, and then we'll connect to it directly. Exit out of this ticket here. Very similar. I'm going to say, or let me just open up the sidebar again. And just like the Postgres data connector, you'll see all the different columns that we have available, whether it's customers, campaigns, even campaign assets too. And again, we'll load and preview those for you to query as well. You can take a look there. And we'll just run a really basic query just for us to test this out. We'll say, can you show me ad spend versus, what's a good thing, like CAC? Ad spend versus maybe like by campaign. We'll do that by campaign. Yeah, here. So let's just take a look at the campaigns table and use my Google Ads connector. Again, you could expand this and then you'll say, hey, the Julius AI connector has two tables, ad spend and campaigns. Ad spend table contains information about the cost of advertising campaigns with columns like spend, the amount of money spent, etc. Right? It really is. I think there's two main ones that folks will use typically is Google Ads, and the other one is Meta Ads as well. Meta Ads is we're in the process of developing as well. But here you can see some of the different analytics, at least in this dashboard, where you could see, how much have we spent in the last 30 days in this demo set too. You could visualize this even beyond 30 days. It really depends on what you have available in your ads, in your Google Ads or whatever ad connector that you're using. And the other cool thing that you can do, again, Julius has read every single textbook, whether it's a data analytics textbook or even a marketing textbook. And I'll say, make some recommendations on how we can make our ads campaigns more efficient and effective. So it'll take all the different data that we have. It's going to use all of the different training and knowledge that it has gained from the work that these companies have done. And you'll see it's even suggesting like, hey, we should reallocate budgets towards data analysis and student campaigns, or we should tighten in search queries and placements, all these different things. It really just makes so much sense. Why not just have all of your data just in one spot and just analyze it in one spot? So give it a try. Again, really, really easy to get started using the Google Ads. I think the only thing, just double check that your account that you're connected to Julius does have those permissions. Reach out to any IT professionals if you guys do have one at your organization. The setup is really, really straightforward. It just might need some technical knowledge on their side to get started to make sure that anyone in your organization can connect their accounts to Julius and to the Google Ads connector. And as always, like I mentioned earlier, click on the documentation. We are building out step-by-step guides on how to connect all of this as we keep on building these things out, just to make it a lot easier for you guys to use. The other one to call out here as well as we are building out MCPs and we are building out other features as they come along. Stay tuned. We'll have more webinars as these develop and as the team builds them out and polishes them up. If there are, again, any data connectors or ways that you guys connect or store your data or want to connect data to Julius, again, feel free to fill out this request connector. We have this hooked up to our Slack. We monitor this channel and this forum every waking hour of the day, just to know, hey, where are users at? Where can we meet them and meet their data to get you guys using Julius? Those are the main ones that I wanted to talk about today. Again, we covered, if you are just joining us, we covered Google Drive earlier. We actually covered it twice because my audio was echoing. Google Drive and OneDrive as well, in addition to SharePoint, which is OneDrive for Business. We just covered Google Ads, and then earlier before that, we did our Postgres connector. Again, it's a little bit more nuanced setup there. It will require some things like your IP address, correctly provisioned and permissioned credentials. That was a tongue twister. In the next webinars, after we release these ones, we'll do one for BigQuery and Snowflake. Those are the other main two. When I talk about us monitoring this form, those are the other really two big ones, was BigQuery and Snowflake. And then we'll cover any other additional ones as they are released too. But again, let us know what you guys are looking for. We'll monitor this form, and then feel free to reach out to us anytime, and I really mean that anytime, on our team@julius.ai email address, or you can go to our help center here again in the upper right corner, and you can click here and let us know if there's anything that you guys are looking for in particular. I know Xander's been taking a look at the chat. I'm going to go back to my Q&A. Our community here and get the latest and greatest on that. And we just announced here from the post from Noreen that we're moving over. There's a link here that you guys can use to join. You can't hear me. What did I do differently here? Let's see. Joe has audio. We can hear you, I think. All right. Now it's fine. Okay, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll have to figure out. Apologies in advance, or apologies for before. I'm not sure if there's something going on with the scenes. Today's a little bit more complex because I'm hopping between different browsers here. But as I was saying, in this one, you guys can visit our Julius community in case there is, or there might be a delay, I think, for some folks. There is a Julius community here, but we are in the process of setting up our own community Slack. A lot easier for us to interact with. Discourse is great, but it's just a little tricky to get notified when people are responding to threads there. But we'll post it, and then we can follow up after the chat, too. Cool. Awesome. I'm going to go back to this one here. Any other top of minute thoughts or questions? Taking a look through the chat. Cool. No, but give it a try. You know, whether you guys are going to use our Google Drive, OneDrive, Google Ads, Postgres, or any other data connectors that are available in our Data Connectors tab, give it a try and let us know. Maybe in the next webinar, we have an onboarding webinar, but the one afterwards, or maybe next week, we do another one on data connectors too. Again, I really do mean it when the team does first use these tools internally for our own analytics and just knowing how things are trending. And we really do monitor all the inboxes too. Can we talk about how you secure the data? Great question. If you guys have questions like that, you can go to security.julius.ai. Here we have our Trust Center, where we have our SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, our status on our GDPR compliance, and then we have any other featured documents too. So if you do want access to our SOC 2 Type 2 report, get an overview of our infrastructure, what's it called, net mapping, you can get all of that access here. And you could read about all of our different policies. And this is where we point not just users, but also enterprise customers too, about how we treat data, how we store data, how data is encrypted in transit and at rest, and a bunch of our other policies too about organizational security and also risk management that you can check out. You could read that here. You could also check out any of the sub-processors that we use internally too. Again, none of them have access to any of your data. This is purely just folks that we use internally at Julius, whether it's a vendor or something that we just use for our own productivity too. If you do have any specific security questions that I just don't know the answers to, feel free to reach out to security@julius.ai. We have a really great person here on the security team, and they can answer any of the questions that you have. Or if you're an enterprise customer and you do have an organization like vendor approval process and you do require a form, let us know. More than happy to just answer any questions if they do require a little bit more thorough examination of our security policies and how we handle and manage your data. Amit asked, can you show me again how we could access your Slack? Sure. If you go back to our community forum, this is the only way right now. Let me go ahead and share this link. It says, Michael says it's not working. I'll share this here at the minute, and we'll see if this works. And if this doesn't, we'll follow up with an invitation afterwards. We just spun this up yesterday. But in the future, you could expect to just go to julius.ai, and you could look at, we're going to replace these links on the bottom with one that is our Slack. And also, if you just go to julius.ai, we're going to update the socials here at the bottom. So we'll have a link there. Okay, it's not working. Okay, I'll follow up after the call once we do update the link, and then we'll ship it out to you guys to join. Cool. All right, we'll give you guys one more minute. Any last questions, thoughts, comments from folks? Again, thank you guys so much for joining. Apologies for the audio issues earlier. Cool. Awesome. Cool. If there is nothing else, thank you guys again so much. Really love having first these sessions to just talk through some of these features, but also just a chance to interface with users around the globe. Really is cool. Again, super thankful for all of your guys' support through all these years so far. So really excited for more to come. Give data connectors a try. I can only tell you, it really is magic once you actually use it, especially if you're like myself, not familiar with writing queries or writing SQL or setting up Postgres. It's a lot. Just being able to do it all within Julius and just have one place to analyze it has been a game changer, at least for me. I can't speak for the rest of the team. I know they use it every single day, but I think just that alone is enough testament there. Are we hiring? We are. You can visit our LinkedIn page. Let me see if I could find it here. Oh, you have to log in. You can visit us on LinkedIn. We do have all of our postings here. Alternatively, we do have our careers page here where you could see our team here in SF, and then also some of the different perks and also the positions that we're hiring for. Feel free to apply here, and also feel free to reach out too if there's an interesting thing that is interesting for you as well. Awesome. Cool. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really looking forward to chatting with you, and we'll see you guys in the next webinar. Hope you have a great rest of your morning, evening, or night, wherever you guys are. We'll see you then. Take care.